Hello, and thank you for tuning in to my Servant Leadership Impact Plan for the class this semester. Just to start out, a little bit about me. I am a special education teacher at Muskego High School, so a lot of this Servant Leadership Impact Plan has to do with my passion for working with students with disabilities and creating a positive culture within my school building. So, this is just a quote that I love. Give your hands to serve and your hearts to love by the wonderful Mother Teresa as kind of a guiding statement as I go through my servant leadership impact plan. So before getting into my actual plan, I just kind of wanted to set the stage for where this plan is going to be taking place and the reason why I would like for it to take place. So this leadership impact plan is going to be taking place at Muskego High School, and the goal is to be working to serve children of all abilities by teaching them strong core values and preparing them for their life beyond high school. I believe that school is more than just teaching students math or science, and it's a lot more about teaching them how to be good people. As a school, our mission statement is every student learning, growing, and succeeding. So already we have a really great start to a positive atmosphere within our school, and I just want to build upon this common ground that we have in this common mission. So to begin by identifying the problem that I see within my current school organization is I do believe that our school is a bit unaccepting of people with different abilities. Now, that's not to say that everyone is unaccepting, but there are definitely teachers who don't feel like they should be teaching students with disabilities or feel like students with disabilities are not fit for their class and have said this to me, have said this to students. And to me, that is a huge problem to be saying that to students, and it does not give them a sense of confidence or belonging within the school. In addition, I believe that there is a bit of lack of flexibility in grading and in teaching styles. Oftentimes, teachers don't want to veer from the norms, or they believe that an A means the same thing for every student. And I much more so believe in growth-based learning, that a student should be graded based upon how much growth they have within a class. In addition, teachers feel burdened to include students with disabilities into their classroom. As I mentioned before, they've gone as far to tell students that they shouldn't be in the class, or that, they don't need to be teaching students with disabilities because it's a college level class and they won't be going to college. And this kind of mentality is something that I would really like to change within our building in order to bring about a more positive learning environment for students with disabilities. And then lastly, I do believe that teachers lack tools and knowledge to work with students with unique learning needs. As a special education teacher, I had to go through several courses learning about the brain functioning of people with various disabilities, and I know that my colleagues haven't necessarily had that same training. So I believe that some of the stigma that they have is because they lack the knowledge about how a student's disability is actually affecting them within the classroom. To summarize my mission to combat the problems that I see within the school, I would like to create a more positive culture in my building surrounding service to students with special needs in the general education classroom. And my why is to ensure the best educational environment for all students and to develop trusting relationships with all staff members. I would really like to see us embrace the differences and the diversity that we have within our student population, and make sure that students see us as being inclusive adults, and so that we promote our students to be inclusive of people who are different as well. My action plan for my mission centers strongly around building relationships and opening lines of communication with my colleagues. I really do believe that if my colleagues and I have strong relationships, and if they can trust us, and if they believe that we are genuinely doing what is best for all students, that they will then in turn become more flexible with some of their teaching practices and integrate some of the strategies into their own classrooms. So the first thing I would really like to do is to build strong relationships with staff through joining Wednesday collaboration sessions. Currently, we also collaborate on Wednesdays as a special education department. I feel like it would be beneficial to have all of the special education teachers spread out to different subject areas and work with teachers on maybe different challenges that they're having with students in their class. And I think that in order for the general education teachers to take ownership over this, they could even invite us to their collaboration whenever they have a challenge, so they don't feel as if we are imposing on them or as if we feel like they need help and they're coming to us when they need help. In addition, I would like to make sure that all staff knows how to use first-person language. We've learned a lot in this class about the power of language and collaboration, and I believe that this is a huge importance when working with students with disabilities in order to make sure that teachers know that these kids are students first and their disability doesn't define them. I do believe that they have to start learning what person first language is, and that when we are collaborating, that we are using person first language and we're using this positive language as we're trying to come up with new ideas to these complex problems. I would also like to begin something called a Management Monday, which is my idea of an idea board where teachers could post on an idea board online different challenges they're having, and then throughout the week people could add different ideas of different strategies they might use when they see someone who has this problem, and then on Friday send out a summary of all of these ideas. And then as a special education department, we can maybe go through and look at, are there any recurring problems that we see teachers having? Or is there anything that didn't get answered and maybe we need to schedule an individual meeting with a teacher? I think it would be a great way to reach more of our staff members. In addition, I would like to create a professional development opportunity to learn about how students' disabilities impact their ability to perform academically and socially. I think that many of our colleagues, and myself included, could go for a refresher on how the brain functions differently for a student with maybe anxiety or ADHD or learning disability. So I think providing those professional development opportunities would be very helpful. And then lastly, I would like regular education teachers and special education teachers to maybe come together to build a professional development opportunity so that it's not someone from the outside coming in, but it's a trusted colleague working to try and help them come up with ideas, to try and spread information and grow information about how to work with students with disabilities. I do believe that if I implement several parts of this action plan, that it will begin to have a change on the culture within my building. There will definitely be a lot of challenges when trying to implement this action plan. Of course, the first one that comes to my mind is time. Staff is always talking about not having enough time to be modifying things for students with disabilities, or not enough time to really sit down and talk about all of these challenges. And so I think that that's going to be a huge obstacle to overcome, is, just the need for more time. In addition, I think that helping teachers to overcome their stigmas that I mentioned before about a student with disabilities and what their potential is, or how their disability is actually impacting them in class, is going to be a big challenge. There's definitely been a much larger push in recent years to have students with disabilities in the general education classroom, because research has shown that when they're with their general education peers, they typically learn more and are able to see positive role models within the school environment. And the last big challenge I identified was teachers don't feel flexible around grading and classroom expectations. As I previously mentioned, they think that every kid has to do the same thing to get an A. Well, sometimes that isn't necessarily practical, in my opinion, and I think what would be more important is for the teachers to realize that they could grade based on growth, or they could grade based on, did this student do their very best and master all of the major concepts of this class? So that is a total idea shift within the school environment that I think will be a huge challenge to overcome in the future. In terms of coming around opportunities for collaboration to address these challenges in the action plan, many of them I've mentioned already. The Wednesday collaboration, where the special education teachers can go out to different departments instead of meeting as a special education department, I think that would go a long way in helping us to reach many different subject areas. I also mentioned Management Mondays and the idea boards of teachers posting on those. That's something that doesn't take a lot of time and does allow for some more instant feedback. In addition, professional development is a great opportunity for teachers to get together and collaborate. Also, just being seen in the hallways during passing periods. I've had numerous great conversations with my colleagues just because I'm out in the hallway and not in my room. We've talked about trying to keep our doors open more often as a school to try and promote this type of collaboration. Also, there's always a general education teacher at IEP meetings. This is a great time for them to hear about various strategies that could possibly work for individual students. And then last, of course, there's staff bonding. I think staff bonding is always a good idea for people to get together in not such a structured environment, and I think ideas may just flow more easily, and it's a great way to build relationships and open those lines of communication. So to conclude my presentation, I would just like to talk a little bit about what I believe being a servant leader is. I believe being a servant leader is about creating a common vision and then building relationships so that everyone feels like they are collaborating toward a purposeful goal. I know every teacher wants all students to succeed, so I will build from that common ground to help create a positive and accepting culture in our school. I want to be the change that I wish to see. All right, thank you all for listening, and God's blessings.